The Arizona Cardinals will play their starters preseason week 1 at home against Kansas City. Is it a big deal? Kind of, but there's a couple different sides to it. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. 15 years in sports media in Phoenix, 9th season hosting this lovely show. Wouldn't have it any other way. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So, Jonathan Gannon yesterday mentioned that the starters will play in week 1 of the preseason, including Kyler Murray. I'm going to discuss in the final segment what my final thoughts are. My initial thought was it's a mistake. And I know it's not necessarily lazy. It's more too much of an overarching way to look at it. And, I'll discuss it. And the final decision after crunching everything on this show. How much should the rookies and younger guys play in week 1? There's a lot of things that have changed with injuries and otherwise that is going to impact how much those guys play and also performance during camp so far. But first, the starters playing against Kansas City. Kansas City's playing their starters as well. This has nothing to do with the Cardinals playing their starters or not. Okay. For me, the main reason why I thought the Cardinals should have sat their guys, at least for the first 2 weeks, is there's so much weight going into 2025. So much. Everything is on the line. And I know that everything is on the line every year, like I get it, but this is the culmination of everything the Cardinals have been building up for. So while I used to be in the camp of just playing, it's football. Yeah, I mean, it's a violent sport. You never wish anybody to get injured. Injuries happen. I understand that mode of thought process as well. But I think maybe my initial thought was maybe I'm too close to it. Like I rarely get there, but it's like, no. You don't want to get all the way here and then have something, freakishly, wrong happen. And then you never get to see it. But then the other side is, well, they need the reps. So with that, I wanted to lead off the show today with how much of the starter is going to play. There's a couple different ways you can go about it. One I vehemently disagree with. And then the other two I disagree with less, but I could get on board with those two options. First, if they play a series or 2, I don't understand it. What are 3 passing reps and 3 running reps going to do? Like, that's not reps. It's not like they're playing a full game. It's just you go through the scripted plays, you get the juices flowing, you get the ball moving. I get it. In theory, I understand the process. There's no right or wrong answer with this. There's upsides and downsides to both. But that's the one that I least agree with. If they were to play them for, a series and it's 3 and out, it's like, why risk it? 2 series, 2 3 and outs, why risk it? Now, if they get first downs, they march down the field. My co-host on the Cardinal Squad show, we did one yesterday. We're doing it Tuesday and Thursday. We'll also be doing it post-game Saturday night for an hour after I go live for my show. Jamil Douglas had a really astute observation. He's like, well, if you don't want them to play a lot in the preseason, have them go down and put points up on the board on the first drive. It's like, yeah. That would be the best case scenario for all, that they march down, score a touchdown, get the hell off the field. Now, the other couple options, playing the first full quarter, or maybe they get a third series in there depending on game flow, or if they play the first half, it's like, I understand that widens the opportunity for things to not go so great. But if you really want to get that check of reps, then you get more of a body of work. And that is much more beneficial than just saying you played them to play them, because you're changing not the narrative, because the narrative can be many different things. You're changing how things are done during the preseason. Okay? Conscious effort. Jonathan Gannon, I'm sure, has thought about this a lot, or maybe he didn't, and he's just like, yep, this is 100% what needs to happen. But for me, why I struggle is, seeing comments on Twitter and in the chat here and elsewhere, DMs and everything. It's like they came out clunky last year and they didn't play in the preseason, so it needs to change this year. I think that is a very, very weak argument. That team last year ain't got nothing to do with this team. Everybody's leveled up. The reason why the Cardinals lost to Buffalo is they gave up multiple third and very longs. They should have beat Buffalo. Okay? So it wasn't like Buffalo was playing all world. The Cardinals got out to a lead. So it's revisionist history. We look at the end of the game, but Buffalo played like crap also. So having that be the impetus for the Cardinals starting their dudes week 1 of 2025 in the preseason, I don't understand that argument. I don't understand that argument. So with them playing, as mentioned, the Cardinals are going to start, you're going to have Kyler for at least a series or two. You're going to have Marv. You're going to have Trey McBride. You're going to have the offensive line. I'm not sure if every single starter will play. Unsure if they're going to get a rotation in like old AAU ball where it's like 5 in, 5 out, 5 in, 5 out. It was the worst. Man, when I used to play club basketball, it's just like you can't ever get any momentum because everybody's got to play. Same amount of minutes. But anyways, if it's going to be that kind of shuttle way of getting people in and out, I guess we'll see how it goes. I understand that I may be being overprotective. I think that's the best adjective to use. Being overprotective. And maybe a bit selfish, actually, if I'm being completely honest. Because over the last couple seasons, it's been a lot of eating bleep watching this team lose a bunch of games. Because Kyler tore his ACL, it was that year. And then last year, they got better for sure, wilted down the stretch. And then it's like, okay, they added all these pieces on defense in free agency in the draft. And they're running it back on offense. They brought back James Conner. They brought back Trey McBride. They extended them. Zay Jones looks to be a lot more ingrained in this offense because he didn't really have an offseason with the Cardinals last year and missed the first chunk of games to start last season. I just don't want anything to go wrong. And the only way for that 100% to happen in between the lines, down said hike with a whistle and a scoreboard would be for them not to play. I realize that. And on top of that, maybe another fallacy of mine when it comes to that specific thought process is they're playing New Orleans in week 1. I know it's on the road. I know it's in the Superdome. And it's not like they're playing the Chiefs week 1. It's not like they're playing a team that they need to have all systems go like they do. I mean, any NFL team does in week 1. Okay, so let's not mince that for sure. But I can't help but just have that in the back of my mind. Like, they can be clunky and still win week 1. So that's why I struggle. But irrespective of that, the Cardinals are playing their starters week 1 against Kansas City. Don't know anything about moving forward. But I guess we'll see with that how much the starters play will be a direct, catalyst for how much the younger guys play, more or less. How much should that be? We'll discuss it next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is also brought to you by, not also, this is the first one. Dang it. Boop. Fantasy at Yahoo. I've been okay. The best time of year is here. Okay. I've been talking in now a WhatsApp chat, my group and 2 group text chats about my leagues. All of them are on Yahoo. All of them have been around for quite some time. Been making trades, been talking about changing structures, making it a full point PPR instead of half point PPR, talking about, how you allocate the point system, things like that. Like, it's so fascinating all you can do on the Yahoo Fantasy app. So me, my buddies, like whether you're a first timer, which we actually have a new first timer in our league, or you're a veteran like me making your millionth league, play on Yahoo Fantasy. Like, To celebrate over 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days through August. To kick it off, they just dropped Yahoo Fantasy's Guillotine League, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's one team left standing, which is crazy. With the season around the corner, now is the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, you can still play in head-to-head private leagues or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. So, I've struggled with this. My first inclination was don't. They need reps. I know, but don't. You've got joint practice next week against Denver. That's much more, high motor than playing in preseason games. But Jonathan Gannon said starters will play. Okay, moving on. How much do the rookies and younger guys play? Now, this is a more multi-layered conversation because you know who the starters are on offense. They ran it back. On the defensive side of the ball, you've got rookies. You've got younger guys, second-year guys. Even throwing BJ Ojulari in there, still on the pup. They still got plenty of time to bring him off of it, so he's eligible to play week 1. You've got Max Melton. You've got Dadrian Taylor-Demerson. You've got, you've got dudes around. You got Keitrell Clark. You got the more depth guys, Elijah Jones, Denzel Burke, 5th-round pick out of Ohio State in the cornerback room. And I'm fascinated to see how much they're going to play. So now with Starling Thomas out and with Walter Nolan hobbled with the calf, and there's no real timetable, but no timetable doesn't mean forever. No timetable means just no timetable. And it's something that it's just TBD. So it adds a different wrinkle to the packages that can be put on the field. And that is the fascinating part when it comes to the rookies and second-year dudes. So does that mean Will Johnson will need to play more in the preseason? Because he may be slated to start alongside Max Melton if they were going to play in their base set? Or does that mean Dadrian Taylor-Demerson should get a massive uptick in snaps because they may be throwing out that 3 safety set that they didn't necessarily think that they were going to be throwing out as much before Starling Thomas got hurt? And that being, a reason why they may thrust that into action a little bit more. Like Darius Robinson is going to be fascinating to see how much he plays, how much he lines up and where he lines up, if he splits it or if they really just use him on the interior of the defensive line. Like all of these things are all great questions. And I think, especially on the defense, it's much more needed for these guys to play than the offense, but starters are going to play, starters are going to play, starters are going to play. We'll see how much, Calais Campbell and Dalvin Tomlinson play. We'll see how much Josh Sweat plays, Baron Browning, Zaven Collins. When he says his starters are going to play, it could mean so many different things. But I do think, especially in the secondary, that it's a fascinating case study in how much information is needed for Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rallis to determine who their best set of DBs are to play. And do they already kind of know? Is it still up in the air, but not in a bad up in the air way? More of like, oh, go get him, kid. Go get him, young man. Go take that spot. Or is it kind of a combination of the two? I don't know. But with the starters playing, especially in week 1, obviously solely in week 1, because that's all we know so far. Does that mean that that's going to bump Will Johnson into playing into the third quarter and fourth quarter? How much are these rookies going to play? Because if the starters are going to play a quarter or a quarter and a half, that means that these guys who are set to be high enough on the depth chart to quote unquote matter will be playing well into the second half. And is that a good idea? How many reps do you need? Or is the entire second going to be everybody's going to play in the first half, and then that's going to be it? I know it's splitting hairs at this point because we're not really, we have no idea. We have no idea. But like to kind of bring both of these two segments in for landing before pivoting to like my final thoughts and everything. I'll give it some thought. I still think that they should sit. Like I'm not changing that. But obviously the other side isn't irrational either. I don't care that the Bills and the Chiefs play their guys in the preseason. I don't care. It has nothing to do with the Cardinals at all. Well, the Chiefs they've got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, okay? Let's not compare the Cardinals to the top teams in the NFL yet, okay? With how much this team has struggled and how long it took to undo what the last regime did, putting potential harm in the way of the ultimate goal, I feel should be avoided. That's it. I know they need reps. I get it all. I understand. I do. So if they're going to play the starters for a quarter, I'm much more on board with that than playing them for a series or two. Series or two was just going through the motions, handing the ball off a couple times, Kyler Murray dumping it off to Trey McBride or Marvin Harrison Jr. It's like, who serves no purpose. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. Like 8 plays does nothing. If you play them for a whole quarter and you get some momentum, you have them one long drive that ends in points and you pull them, that's more palatable. It's more rational. Again, don't know which way it's going to be. When it comes to the younger guys, I want to see them go full speed and see. I want Max Melton to rip that CB1, outside CB1 roll away from Will Johnson. Like, I want to see, like, because if he does that, oh man, Max Melton levels up this year. Woo! The reason why the Max Melton thing fascinates me because like he was the least sexy name of all the corners that went back to back to back to back. And on top of that, the Cardinals traded back in the second round 2 drafts ago. And the cornerbacks who went were Julian McKinstry, Cooper DeJean, Kamari Lassiter. I think one more. And then they drafted Max Melton. Who's Max Melton? Out of Rutgers? Why not Cooper DeJean, who was supposed to go in the first round, he looks really good. They've already got Garrett Williams. Like they've got a guy who plays kind of a similar role. And then Julian McKinstry was the hot name coming out of Alabama. And Kamari Lassiter, I think, went to Georgia. Like, it's like, oh, well, what about Rutgers? Big Ten, but kind of. Max Melton's a stud. So I'd love to see him and Will Johnson line up outside alongside each other and just see what it looks like. Like for me with these guys, and I'll go a little bit deeper into this later in the week as like a what to look for kind of thing. If they're playing much better than 2s and 3s from other teams, the Cardinals are going to be in good shape. You can very much tell NFL players from bench players. You can very much tell. I'll go more in depth about that later in the week. Final thoughts on the decision to play the starters. They shouldn't, but I get it. And I'll explain that a little bit more next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following on the action, man. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the action with your friends, and other friends are getting sunburned on the beach. You can completely avoid that altogether. This is the time for the futures to be placed. Who's going to win the Super Bowl? You're going to take a dark horse? You're going to take the Eagles. Who's going to win MVP? Who's going to win Coach of the Year? Or any Arizona Cardinals players or coaches going to make your list? You can do it all at FanDuel. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today to visit, or you can visit FanDuel.com to get started. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button, man. Turn notifications on. You know the drill. It's coming. It's coming. We're about a month away. We did it. Listen. I know the Cardinals probably should play their starters this preseason. Week 1 kind of surprised me. If you want to do it in week 3, after the group practice against Denver next week. Then you pivot in week 3. You play the starters for, a series or whatever, a couple series or a quarter, whatever, getting momentum into week 1, which is 2 weeks away from the last preseason game. So it's not like they're playing the preseason game and then playing week 1 the next week. I get on board more with that. If they go play in the preseason, then play practice the group practices against Denver, and then play in week 3, it's kind of a lot. I know they need reps. Okay, I can't say that enough. I know they need reps, and also I can't shake how far this team has come roster-wise, cohesion-wise, culture-wise, leadership-wise, talent-wise, to have it potentially not thrown away, but put into question because of an unnecessary thing that happened in the preseason. You've got to, even if you don't agree with me that they shouldn't play, even if you think they 100% need to play and need reps, it can't just be, it's football. It's so much bigger than that. It's so much bigger than that since the end of the 2022 season, man. Anybody at any time, that's cheapening what they've done over the last 3 off seasons. It's cheapening it. It's lazy. So that's why I've held on to maybe not. Maybe in week 3. But playing on Saturday and then having the team practices against the Broncos, and then I don't know, man. I don't know. The one thing I will say to wrap this up here is have implicit trust in Jonathan Gannon, have implicit trust, again, with the coordinators and Monty Ossenford. So if they think this is the best way to do it, this is the best way to do it. And they've always done what's best for this team, even though maybe it didn't work out towards the tail end of last season. I'm struggling with the accepting of that. But listen, it's going to be fine. It's the preseason. They're going to get their reps in. It's going to be awesome. And then, we'll see what happens. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Remember, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you tomorrow.